Is being a musician just all we need? Just practice and perform focusing on selected songs? But have no idea on how to develop and manage ourselves as a musician? Well, managing can be difficult for certain people. Good leadership and skills are among the most needed criteria to manage and organize a team or even for yourself. I guess Dr. Nadia has a lot to say about that.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. Okay, my name is Dr. Nadia Widyawati Madzhi. I am currently the Deputy Dean of Academics, Faculty of Music, a senior lecturer. So what I do is I teach music education courses as well as some traditional music courses. I started playing piano when I was 6 years old. So my dad sent us, all our siblings, to this piano class at PJ Old Town at that time. So I had my piano lessons until Form 5. And then I finished grade 8 actually for both theory and also piano. Then I wanted to actually pursue in music program. But I think being a typical Malay parents kan, boleh ke music ni apa boleh bagi makan ke kan? Is that can you get a job like that? So they feel that walaupun they sent me for the piano class, but I think it's more for my mother lah. My mother is a bit alim sikit kan, so she feels that you got a grade 1 at that time for SPM. I think you should do something else. Piano could be maybe as your part-time. So I took my accountancy degree at UiTM at that time. Then when I finished 2002 at that time, I tak graduate lagi. There was an opening at this newspaper for a contract lecturer, music education, faculty pendidikan at that time. So I applied for it. Memang I was being interviewed. So of course they were curious lah. They're like, hey, your degree is in accountancy. But I guess when I was back in UiTM, I was active with the music club. So I was the music director and I played the piano, I played the flute. So that sort of like supported my application kan. So then I got the job, but at the same time the VC at that time says, okay, she can be a lecturer, but she needs to do her masters as soon as possible. So that's why I took. Actually, I was the first batch of the masters program at UiTM. So I was the first batch lah. So eventually I got that, and then I was sent to do my PhD, and so the rest is history. Personally, for me, it would be the passion of teaching. I think, I suppose that's the most basic thing. Like if you're not passionate about teaching, then I guess you will not be excelling in doing what you're doing now. So my motivation is actually also students. I mean, I enjoy teaching and I enjoyed it when students cakap dia faham and they enjoy my class. So I think to be the traits that an educator needs also, you have to be compassionate, you have to have the empathy, and you may have all the knowledge, but you need to build some kind of a relationship with your students, like, look, they are here to learn from you. So I think as a human, and you can inspire students in some way. So I think that is, for me personally, would be the trait that, and what an educator should have. Apart from you need to have knowledge and skills, that is basic lah. But also we also need to expose them to what is actually out there. Like I pun baru nak venture when I'm involved with exchange with Alina Morang kan. So I see that when you have connection with outside with the industry, you can see actually like, this is what the industry actually needs. Sometimes kita takut we dekat faculty kita macam shock sendiri. I mean we are giving all theory, but then we are not actually preparing them for what is going to happen out there. Because my other half is also in the industry kan, so we like to talk about this. Sometimes we argue about something on paper, but something what the industry really needs. So for me, that's why for myself, I would like to expose my students to to as much as possible to what is actually happening out there, because the industry is big. It's not just entertainment, you know, it can also be other, like even education dekat luar. It may be different than what we actually have inside and what they really need out there. So we try to to give students as much as we can, but again, there's only so much we can do. We only have like 3 years or 2 years or 4 years, so we should give the basic, tapi we encourage them to go out there so that they can get something which they can nanti use once they graduate. My role, it's a very heavy role, because basically whatever that falls under academic is under my responsibility lah. It's actually challenging, but at the same time, I am fortunate because I have a strong team. So I believe that, you know, being in the management, of course you need to decide, but you need to have a strong team who would support you. And, you know, because myself, I don't know everything. So even as people like kerani apa-apa kan, so we need to acknowledge them, because they know some things which I do not know. So basically, being in the upper management is you need to oversee things. In a way, sometimes you need to be kepochi also. Like you need to get to know every single thing, even though you don't want to. But for the sake of work, you know, you have to be involved in that sense. So managing people, managing programs, even managing students, especially now when we have this COVID thing kan. So it has been so far since last year. Wow, I think it's very challenging, not just for our students but for our lecturers as well. So we are trying as best as we can to give support to this to our staff and also our students in any way. Challenges. Oh, kalau I nak list down memang banyak. But I think one of the biggest challenges is that you have to be always on your feet lah. And is that you must always be alert, because UiTM is very dynamic. So when we have this WhatsApp group, the TDA WhatsApp group, we have so many WhatsApp groups. So there's so much information that, so if you are not alert, you wouldn't know what is happening around you. So being in UiTM itself is a challenge, because we are the biggest university. So there are certain decisions that we can't compare to if it's the other IPTAs in Malaysia. So that is one of the biggest challenges, I would say. The amount of work, the amount of demands, the amount of tasks that you need to adhere to, and sometimes it's just like they ask you tomorrow but they want it today. You know, it's like that. The situation is like that, you know. So and we are limited in terms of staff. We only have about what, 50 something? No, 40 something lecturers. So, and it's always the same people doing the same job, or the same people doing different jobs, but you can't really distribute the jobs to the others because we are so small. So that is, for me lah, personally, is the biggest challenge. You get tired sebenarnya. I work closely with my other TDs as well. So what I can see is that when there is HEA, there's also HEP. We need to work together, as compared to maybe some other faculty, because they may have the nature is different, so they could work not together, secara asing lah. But for us, faculty music, even you want to do it as an academic program, but in a way it can be a students' affairs kind of thing. So basically, being a deputy dean, you need to know all, academic especially, because you cannot just do, oh, I just want to do academic work. Cannot. You have to involve with student affairs as well. Having a good team, because we cannot do everything solo kan. So that is what I see in the Faculty of Music. I may be a good listener. I feel it that way, because there is a big difference between be able to hear and be able to listen. Okay, listen. Some people may hear but they don't listen. Kan? So I am still building my leadership punya traits, but I would say that I would want to be a good listener. I think I have a little bit too high on being empathetic. Because sometimes, when somebody tells me stories, sad stories, I can cry with them. That may be also my weakness. Because dia nangis, you pun boleh nangis kan. So, yeah, being a good listener, be empathetic and try to understand people's problem and situation. I think that would be the key. And of course, we try to solve the problem in a way that would not affect so much other people. We try to get that one point that everyone is happy. Of course, you can't make everyone happy, but itulah, there's a fine line between, you want to make things work, but at the same time you want to make sure that your colleagues are okay. Not everyone wants to listen. So in the context of students for example, even though they may be immature in a way, but sometimes when they vent or they rant on, nowadays social media is the thing So I think we as a lecturer, sometimes we have to muhasabah diri juga lah. What would they say that because sometimes I get people say, oh, we have too much theory, for example. We need to expose our students to the industry, and the industry is always changing, and the industry, there's so many types of industry. So as a lecturer, as a management, that's why I have to be able to listen, I have to be empathetic, because at the end of the day, we want them to get jobs when they go out. I mean, they may be good, but if they don't get jobs because this is what they are lacking from what the industry wants, I takut we were to be blamed also, because we are not preparing them for that. That's why we have to be friendly to students and sometimes students pun they have preference. They will want to talk to one lecturer, but they don't want to talk to another one, because they will see if I'm not comfortable, because macam kita pun, there are some person that we can talk to, because we know that we talk to her or him, he's listening. But if you talk to the other person, no, he doesn't want to listen. He hears you, but he's not listening. So that's why for myself, to have those traits, being empathetic and to be able to listen, it works not just for my colleagues, but also for my students. I just got back from a Sabah trip, not just got back in March the other day. So we got this grant. Actually, I was appointed as the head researcher by Estrange. It was actually a project by Estrange and Alina Morang, where we would go to kampung-kampungs di Sabah and Sarawak to do documentation on all these traditional instruments which are being actually the verge of extinction Okay, it may still be playing, but in terms of the makers, we don't have that many crafts. They call it craftsmen the pembuat alat-alat ni. So when you say about being sympathetic, when you say about being a listener, those two are very important when you're interviewing these people. The makers ni, most of them are like 70 years old. When you talk to them and they would tell you stories like, you pun terkejut Like I had one, I went to Tambunan. We interviewed this pakcik, 70 years old, who does the sompoton. So he said that he goes to the jungle, he collects all the bamboo himself, the bee wax, everything, just by himself, going to the jungle alone. We asked him, so uncle, how long does it take for you to do one sompoton? He says 1 month. So how much do you sell it? 80 ringgit. And we were like, how can you, with all the sweat, they stay in the jungle overnight and all that, but you only put 80 ringgit just for that. So that's why being a researcher, apart from, okay, you are listening, you're being empathetic, but we want to do something. That's what we were planning to do. Okay, we have to help these people, these makers. So by us doing this research, we are promoting them. At least then maybe somebody from the kementerian, I don't know, who would say that, hey, we need to help all these makers If not, if we are not helping them, eventually it will disappear. I was actually introduced to play the gamelan by Prof. Shahno. At that time, I was a student a master student, so we had to take one traditional class. So so she was my teacher lah. So once I went to the class, and then at that time she was with Rhythm in Bronze and also Gamelan Club, actor studio. So she invited me to join. So that's where I first started to play with the Gamelan group. Although we played contemporary pieces, but because in UiTM at that time, I had to learn traditional. So that's how I started with Gamelan, even until now. So we played in a few gigs at Istana Budaya and we went, I think it was 2018, was it 19? I can't remember, that we went to Yogyakarta for the Gamelan Festival. So yeah, that's how I was involved lah in Gamelan in the first place. Because Gamelan is also one of the instruments which is most common being played in schools. Because we have music education program, so that's why we need to teach our students to be able to play, so that when they go out, especially for music educators, music education program graduates, they will be able to teach. Like Prof Shahanom, again I have to mention the name, she is one of the key person lah for Gamelan Melayu in Malaysia. So to have her with us, so in a way it promotes faculty music as being one of the platform ataupun one of the faculty which practices a lot of gamelan playing. I think my advice would not be long, but it's basically that maybe I may sound a bit Islamic, but in whatever job that you do, it is a place, again as I've mentioned, is for you to get as many pahala as you can. So regardless of whatever job that you are doing, so if you are ikhlas, if you are being truthful to yourself and also to your colleagues and to your students, so I think one would be able to accept the fact that we won't be living long, kan? So whatever that we do, we try to do as best as we can. And the challenges will always be there, regardless of whatever job that you do. So right now, kan, with all this COVID stuff, I tend to think a lot, like, there are some people who doesn't have work and all that. So I think we should be grateful with what we have. So we should be doing the best as we can.